Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking to you about why I became a photographer. Stay tuned. So like any good story, you should begin from the beginning. I always thought of myself as someone that loves to be creative. I love the whole creative process. In fact, I used to write poetry. I used to make beats on the desk, which eventually led me to joining the school band in percussion, which is the drums. So yes, I fancy myself a drum major. Um, but in sixth grade, I took a photography class, and this was when film was king, and Fuji was on top of that mountain. So Fuji, I believe it was a Fuji camera that I worked with. I can't quite specifically remember, but the probability was that it was a Fuji camera. And so I love the whole process, the three chemical baths, the dark room, the smell of everything, hanging up the prints to dry. I just love that whole process. I found it very fulfilling and enriching. Um, but at last, I was like, photography life isn't for me, so I focused on business. Got my bachelor's in business administration, then I got my master's. Not once thinking about photography or anything creative in that sort. It wasn't until 2016 of October that I planned a trip to go to Peru, and this was a solo trip. So I said, you know what, I need to get a proper camera to capture the moments, and especially since I'm going to Machu Picchu, which is one of the seven wonders of the world. I said I need an actual camera to capture all of that. So I bought myself a Nikon D3200. That was my first DSLR camera. In fact, that's my first, I'd say, professional camera I ever got. And then I bought a Tamron 13 to 300 millimeter lens. And that's a big lens, but I figured with that range, I could get very wide angle shots and I could get ultra zoom shots, especially for the mountains. So that was my intention when I bought the camera and the lens. I bought this in February, but my trip was in October 2016. So it came and I stored it in my room. I didn't even open it. Didn't think about it until around August. Yeah, until August of 2016. I was invited to a wedding. So I decided, you know what, this is a good opportunity for me to test out the camera and the lens. And so I went to the wedding and I put myself in a position of a photographer that was hired to do the event. I wasn't hired, but I said I would capture shots as if I was hired, keeping in mind that I didn't want to get in the way of the actual photographer that was hired to do the wedding. Hint, hint. For all those that go to weddings, please stay out of the way of the actual hired photographers. But anyway, I captured the shots and I took them back home and I edited them. So my editing back then was very basic. I don't even know if basic is the word. Like literally all I did was color correction and brightness correction. I knew nothing about presets, knew nothing about the curve, knew nothing about syncing photos. So I did everything manually and I just made sure that I was happy with it. And so I sent it back to the bride. Of course, like I said, this was just a personal project for me. So the bride looked at the photos and said she loved them, and she's like, why didn't you tell me you were a photographer? In my mind, I was like, I'm not a photographer. So that's why I told her. I texted her back, I'm not a photographer. I just using my camera in preparation for my trip. She was like, if you had told me, I would have hired you to do my wedding. And that was a light bulb moment for me. I was like, huh, someone's willing to pay me to do photography. Keeping in mind, like I said, you know, I went business route because I figured there was no money in photography. So I went on my trip, with that thought in mind. And when I came back, I posted the photos from the wedding on my Facebook. Back then, I was still on Facebook. And friends of friends saw the pictures and contacted me. And next thing I know, I was booking engagements and weddings. And yes, looking back now, I'm like, I knew back then that I wasn't on the level of the top tier photographers for wedding or portrait, and but I still charged. And the theory behind that was that charging will enable me to reinvest in getting better hardware, so better cameras, better lens, better computer to do the editing, better software. So paying for gas and all that. So even as a photographer that's just starting out, charge a little bit at least to get you in practice of charging for your work, but also to enable you to reinvest in your business, because it is a business. So I formed a business. I formed the LLC because that's my business side, in the corporate world, matching with my creative side. And I decided to focus, on learning more. So start watching YouTube videos, YouTube University student, magna cum laude right here. And so I started watching YouTube videos, started practicing. Um, I got 5 to 7 photographers that I watched regularly. Saw their work, loved it, and I was just following them on YouTube and on social media. And so I kept watching, kept learning, buying learning modules, and also practicing, doing shoots. So it's one thing to learn, but it's another thing to implement. So I made sure that I always had both. I was doing both. And so that's how I kept doing both and kept improving and improving until now I'm doing shoots like this, photography and portraits. So personally, I love portraits. Portraits are my passion. It enables me to have my creative side come out, uh, use wide color palettes, and just have fun with it. So it's not such a big ordeal in the sense of all the responsibilities that a wedding comes. But I also love weddings, weddings for money, but also weddings for the special moments that the bride and groom shared, not only with me, but with all the guests that are there. And I love the look. So the most fulfilling part about photography to me is when I get the finished product to the client, whether that be the bride or groom or a person that hired me for a portrait. I love the look of surprise and appreciation in their face when they see the pictures that I've captured of them. Um, my ability to photography enables me, let me say, photography enables me to remind people of the unique beauty that they possess. Because a lot of people lose sight of the beauty that they possess in themselves through the daily hustle and bustle of life, or just comparison of social media influencing their thought on how to look. So I like reminding people. I don't want to say helping people discover, because other people see the beauty in you. You might not realize it, but they do. I just like to think photography helps me to remind them of who they are and what beauty they possess and what unique gifts they bring to this world. So the comments of OMG, or I can't believe that's me, I can't believe I look like that, and oh wow, I could be in a magazine, or wow, this is just something that I would cherish. Those comments and feedback are what propel me to keep getting better in photography. And that's why I also push that you order prints for yourself. It's one thing to look at a picture on a digital format on a digital screen, but it's another thing to have an album, or better yet, a wall art. It doesn't even have to be this big. It could be as small as 4x4 that we placed on your desk. But having something physical to remind you of all you've been through, and saying, yes, I've been through all that life has thrown at me, but I am still this beautiful. I am that person in that picture. And it's something that you'll be able to cherish 20 years from now, 50 years from now. So photography is my passion. It enables me to help people hit pause on their lives and to look at themselves outside of social media comparison, look at themselves free of what their life is throwing at them as, you know, oh, I'm a mom, I'm a dad, brother, this. It's just me. And that's what photography is, to focus on that person singularly and enable them to see the beauty that is themselves. In a future video, I'm going to talk about becoming a full-time entrepreneur, what it takes to form an LLC, and all the legal jargon that goes with it. If you like something, you would like to see something like that, please hit the like and subscribe, and leave a comment below if you have any specific questions you want answered in that video. I'll see you guys next time. Stay tuned.